Frames, it turns out, really expensive. Who knew? But I've spent the last few weeks trying to work out how I can frame my art without buying a frame. And I've come up with a few ideas which really work for me for different use cases. And I want to show you how you can do them as well. Now, the reason this has all come to a head for me is because I have a couple of problems. The first is I've got an empty wall in my campervan, and that needs a very specific kind of frame, one which is secure when we move, but also small, and it doesn't need to sort of take over the whole space. Now, the other thing is that I have an exhibition soon, a mini exhibition as part of my book launch, where I'm doing some workshops and things. But with that, I wanted to be able to frame lots of the art from my book, but I didn't want to spend hundreds of pounds, nor did I want to buy lots of really cheap, non-sustainable frames from like Temu and Shein and things like that. So here is a list of ideas and how to do them yourself if you want to frame your art on the very, very cheap. Now, the first idea is the most flexible, and it's going to take us into my campervan. In the campervan we have a space on the wall which is begging for a painting. Now, idea number one is very, very simple, and it brings us to my empty wall in my campervan. All you need for this is a painting that you want to go on the wall. Looks all right, I think. A little bit of masking tape, a couple of paper clips, and the magic ingredient is some magnets. Ingredients assembled. It's very simple. We just put the paper clip underneath the masking tape. The masking tape, which is low tack to not damage the wall, goes on the wall. We then line up 4 of these with the corners of our painting. Now, the secret sauce to this is that magnets will stick nicely to those safety pins. So there we go, solution number one done. Really cheap, really cheerful. You do have to buy some magnets. These are tiny little neodymium magnets, which are a great little thing that I just have a few of at home. So what did I actually pay for this? Nothing. How much might it cost? A couple of pounds for some magnets. And look, it's all right. It works. Simple and effective. But let's move on to idea number 2. Now, our next idea, idea number 2, is also that minimalist kind of vibe, really. It's something very temporary, but it can be more permanent if you want, and it will just use things you probably already have at home. In fact, it's already behind me. Have you spotted the weird frame hanging on the wall somewhere up here? That's right, for this, all we're using is a wooden clothes hanger and some arty clips. Now, I tried this with a couple of different art clips and also tried it with 2 hangers. Now, with big black clips, it was very bulky and metal, and the same with 2 hangers. It looked a bit too much of a weird statement, but look at this. This one, hung up here in the distance, little painting, with just a couple of small metallic clips. It looks really nice. Well, I think it does anyway. And to make it takes, let's call it 20 seconds. You can just pop your clips on your hanger. And again, I swapped these out for those much nicer metal clips. And then you clip the painting to those clips. And it's literally now ready to hang. And if you have the right room, the right space for it, this is a really airy way to hang up your paintings. And what does it cost? It costs stuff you almost certainly just have at home. A clothes hanger and some little clips of some variety. And with that, we can move on to idea number 3. Now, the next ideas are where we might get a little bit craftsy. Now, I'm going to be making mine out of wood because I love working with wood. I'm using scraps of wood, nothing clever. But you'll be able to do these ideas with cardboard, and I'm sure with other things you have lying around at home as well. And we're going to start with the simplest and grow up the complexity and hard work scale. The first thing, one of the simplest things to do, is a poster hanger. The poster hangers, you have a rigid beam at the top and at the bottom of your painting, and some way to connect your painting to that. It doesn't need to be any cleverer than that. So what I've done is I've gone in my garage and found some scraps of wood. This happens to be some really nice oak, which has come from crafting our camper van as it happens. Apart from the wood, I'm just using some eyelets. These little eyelets will be simple ways of connecting the art. Nothing more than that. And we could even just use more clips. We could attach the clips to our bit of wood or to our bit of cardboard, and those clips would function the same. With the two bits of wood, I just made sure they were the same size, and I sanded them down a bit, and then we just attach our wood or our eyelets to our painting. I wanted to use magnets here, but it turned out to be an over-engineered solution. And actually, again, a little bit of masking tape, or I used some blue tack here, and it just worked. And I've had this painting actually hanging like this for a couple of weeks now, as I've been building my other frames. And well, I like it. I think it's simple, it's effective, and it's got a little just minimalist bit of elegance. And it took no time at all. If we take the sanding and neatening up out of the equation, it probably took about 5 minutes, maybe a tiny bit longer. All in, maybe an hour. But it would be easy to mass produce these. But what if we want something more rustic and more unique? Wait. Now for this idea, I need some sticks. So I'm out on a little walk to find some sticks, and of course I brought the expert with me to just save me some effort. There's a good stick. Betty, what do you think of this one? No, apparently not a good stick. All right, we'll find another. This one's pretty good, Betty. Wait, isn't this one good? No, got more important things to do. Now, it turns out I've forgotten the key bit of information, which is that Betty doesn't chase sticks. So I actually had to discover all the sticks myself, but nonetheless, sticks found. And from there, it's a case of working out which of these sticks will fit together the best. How do my paintings potentially fit inside of my frame? Because with this idea, we can do one painting, we could do loads of different paintings. If you were careful, you'd be able to find 4 sticks the right size, and instead of having to do anything else, just bind the corners of the frame with twine. And then you're basically there. Now for me, I wanted to spend a bit of time kind of getting rid of all the knobbly bits on the wood, sanding it down, which took forever. And I also went to a bit of effort to carve out sort of holes for the frame to fit together more neatly, to create a more permanent solution. I fixed it all together with a few screws, and then here comes more eyelets. 16 eyelets, just at fairly even or slightly random locations around the inside of the frame. Loads of twine. And then we just clip some paintings in there on the twine using little sort of mini clothes pegs, or the kind of thing that you use to hang up your cards at Christmas, for example. I think the result speaks for itself. I'm really happy with this one. It's kind of obviously rustic, but really changeable. Really good, I think, for my plan for a little exhibition frame. And I'm probably going to make a couple more of these in different sizes so that I can put lots of different paintings in. Thank you, Betty. Now from rustic, I want to move to another kind of rustic, but one which is a little bit more high effort. Again, if this turns you off, just use some cardboard. I've got a couple of examples here. These are ones I haven't quite finished, I haven't painted, but look, all you need is a frame of wood and your painting will sit inside that. You can make them different sizes, and if you're doing it in wood, you can use different joints as well, just to create different ideas. Simple eyelets on top, those eyelets back again, and we'll be able to hang them up. The one I'm most proud of though is my box frame. So here, really simple joints in the wood, but I framed them so that we had a really deep frame, and then I cut out a bit of plywood to go in the back, put some little squares of plywood on top of that, and attached my painting to those bits of plywood to give it some space. And I'm really pleased with the result. Now the secret sauce here was that Tash was actually painting a lot of our bits of our campervan that day. We sort of taken out some cupboards and things. So I snuck my new frame into that pile and it came out the other side painted. And I think it looks really nice now. And this took me a bit of time, and it was the first one I made. But when I made these ones, my additional frames, it took me no time at all because I sort of knew what I was doing. Again, I've said it a million times, make them out of cardboard, do a little tester, make them out of plastic or polystyrene or something, or you could use foam board to get the same idea for a sort of temporary frame, or even a just sort of little chic, shabby chic kind of frame. And there you go. Now my inside-outside gallery is complete. All different frames hanging up very happily. I'm going to pop a blog post together of these ideas, as well as some other ideas that I found. So check that out and let me know if you've got a clever idea I haven't thought of, or if you tried one of these ideas and it worked, or perhaps didn't work so well for you, and why that was.